Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1 Magic City, Chongning District, a real estate development base. 10 o'clock in the evening, the night is very deep. A newly developed community building, 24th floor. Changsheng, leave me alone, run away, I'll delay you. Well. Yao Qiner has a beautiful face, and she shudders slightly. With a painful look on her face, she let out a muffled groan. I saw a long and thin wound tearing flesh and blood at the position of her left shoulder blade. The wound was as smooth as a mirror, half a foot long, and red and black blood kept oozing out. Half of the clothes had been stained red and exuded a stench. Yao Qiner's pale, bloodless face seemed to be getting more and more painful. The poison of the curse penetrated deep into her body, and even though she was determined, she continued to let out deep and painful cries. Seeing the painful look on this beautiful little face, Dao Changsheng couldn't help but frown slightly, but felt a sense of self-blame in his heart. Yao Qiner's injury was caused to protect him. If it weren't for his oil bottle, Yao Qiner might not have been injured with the strength of a senior conjurer. Hold it, don't worry, with me here, you will be fine. You forgot, my innate spell is a healing ability. The corners of Dao Changsheng's mouth raised slightly, showing a gentle smile, and comforted him. At this time, his hand was pressing the wound on the shoulder armor on Yao Qiner's chest. A cyan gleam appeared on his hand. The innate spell healing has been launched. Dao Changsheng, you are stubborn. You are the weakest in our class. You are still a junior conjurer after more than half a year, and you have the ability to heal. My injury, with your ability, will take at least 3 minutes to heal. After such a long time, we will definitely be torn apart by that high-level curse spirit, and there will be no bones left. Yao Qiner looked at Dao Changsheng's concentration on healing. He couldn't help showing a hint of joking and teasing expression. Then, she said solemnly, hurry up and go, Gobi will come to meet him soon, with his strength, he will definitely be able to kill that curse spirit and avenge me. My barrier won't seal it for long. I don't want your oil bottle to hang up in my team. As the captain, that's too embarrassing. Yao Qiner staggered, supported the wall, smiled, and looked at Dao Changsheng. I saw faint blue smoke coming out from the position of her shoulder. The blood from the wound gradually began to stop. It has to be said that although Dao Changsheng is very weak, his healing ability is still good. However, according to this speed, it is not enough to heal her well, and the two of them will encounter accidents. Yao Qiner grabbed Dao Changsheng's hand, trying to remove his arm. Choo choo choo! Suddenly, a strange cry came from a distance. And the light tubes on their floor also began to flicker non-stop, adding a bit of eerie spookiness to the original dark night. Pa-ta! In an instant, all the electric lights burst open, turning into pieces and falling. At this moment, this floor was completely plunged into darkness. The atmosphere of endless terror spread, and bursts of strange whispers sounded. It's like the cry of a baby, or the sound of long nails scraping on the ground, which makes people's scalp numb. Changsheng, he's coming, I'll see you off. As Yao Qiner said, she stretched out a hand like lightning. Dao Changsheng could not tolerate resistance. A huge force controlled Dao Changsheng, creating a soft stance, enveloping him. Go, meet Gobi, let him save me, I should last a few minutes. Yao Qiner said, not allowing Dao Changsheng to refute. Boom! Dao Changsheng was 1.8 meters tall, but he was like a toy, and was thrown out by Yao Qiner with one hand. The body was like a cannonball, directly smashing into the wall of the room in front. Dao Changsheng looked confused, he didn't expect Yao Qiner to be so decisive. This character is so sassy. His body broke through 2 thick concrete walls, and then broke through a layer of strange and twisted black air at the edge of the room. Breaking through the position of the curse spirit, he fell towards the bottom. The 24th floor, close to 100 meters high. If a normal person falls, his body must be smashed to pieces, and he has no hope of surviving. But Dao Changsheng is a junior conjurer, with a vigorous figure and full of strength. With the addition of Yao Qin'er's spell protection, there will naturally be no problems. Dao Changsheng reacted quickly. I saw a strange black-grey long blade appearing in his hand, the moment it fell. The mantra opened up and was thrown out directly. Puff! The long blade slashed down from the 24th floor along the wall. On the 18th floor, it finally stopped. Immediately afterwards, Dao Changsheng exerted force on his arm. His whole body is like a swan goose, flying lightly into the air. One foot fell and stepped on the long blade in the stone wall. Qin'er is even more stubborn than me. She is the youngest girl next year, but she stands in front of me every time to protect me. Looks like I'm an oil bottle, I'm still not enlightened. Hey, if it wasn't for the fact that my templates haven't been fully integrated, how could I have been bothering you so much? Dao Changsheng shook his head bitterly and looked up at the 24th floor. At this time, on the 24th floor, there was already a rumbling sound inside. From time to time, there was a terrifying impact sound. Choo choo choo! Little girl, I will devour you slowly and bite by bite. Look at your delicate skin and tender meat, it must be delicious. On the 24th floor, a burst of eerie laughter sounded. Apparently, the fight seems to have been fought above. Also, extremely intense. It is conceivable what kind of danger Yao Qin'er will encounter after being severely injured. Possibly, will die? This is what Dao Changsheng was most afraid of. What happened? It's been 19 years since I traveled to the world of spells. I finally awakened my talent for spell training half a year ago, and I awakened my golden finger. I thought I would soar into the sky, but I didn't expect to check in for half a year. There were not many good things, but I was stuck by the character fusion module from the check-in. Dao Changsheng muttered to himself with a helpless expression. Chapter 2. Yes, Dao Changsheng, not from this world. Reborn into this similar, Earth-parallel world of magic spells. Over the years, he has fully adapted to his new identity. According to his understanding, a long time ago, due to special reasons, this planet turned into a dangerous world of spells. Speaking of it, it's similar to that anime world where spells return to battle. However, after his understanding, this weird world is still very different from that anime world. Here the strong are respected, and conjurers are more terrifying than imagined. The world-defying existence in this world may be more than 100 times more terrifying than the top existence in that anime world. But at this time, Dao Changsheng was suffering. Before the character module is fused, the spell power he cultivated will be absorbed by the template. In other words, no matter how much he cultivated, his cultivation base would not improve a bit, but his physical body became much stronger. Because of this, his physique is stronger than his peers. At the elementary level of a conjurer, the strength has reached more than 1,000 catties. However, strength alone cannot gain a foothold in the magic world. This also made him the laughing stock of some people, and he was a veritable bottom existence in the class. The point is, he has no consciousness at all as an oil bottle. Every time, with a cheeky face, he followed the classmates in the class, and specially picked dangerous tasks, and the spell spirit shot. Fortunately, his innate spell is a healing ability, so it's not completely useless. The advantage of the daddy is that he is protected, as long as he hides behind and outputs. Otherwise, with his strength, he would have died countless times. However, he came with Yao Qin'er this time, which actually dragged the other party down. That high-level cursed spirit was more terrifying than imagined. Boom! Suddenly, the 24th floor shook, and a wall shattered. Numerous pieces of reinforced concrete and broken pieces fell on Dao Changsheng's head. FK, this damn curse spirit is so strong, I even escaped, and you still want to kill me. Dao Changsheng cursed and cursed, but his body didn't dodge or dodge. The magic power of the junior magician burst out, and he punched out. A huge burst of power, powerful physical strength, is somewhat stronger than the magic power. Boom! A piece of wall stone the size of a wash basin exploded into pieces. These things didn't hurt him at all. He will not run away. Although, this is the chance of escape that Yao Qiner fought for him with her life. However, he won't shrug. If his calculations are correct, the character templates for punching cards will be integrated on time at 10.30. He is also looking forward to how strong he will become after the fusion of this character template. Hope, don't let him down. Looking at the time, there were less than 10 seconds left. Dao Changsheng was overjoyed, showing a look of anticipation. 9, 7, 5, 1. Ding! Congratulations to the host, successfully completed this check-in task, perfectly integrated the character template, and obtained a check-in value, 1000. The specific data information, the host can check it himself. A pleasant voice sounded in Dao Changsheng's mind. This is his golden finger, the strongest check-in system. As the voice fell, Dao Changsheng closed his eyes, and a kind of enlightenment arose. A stream of mysterious, obscure, and complicated information, all integrated into his mind and soul. It fits perfectly with his soul and body. 2 in 1. At this moment, Dao Changsheng could feel that his aptitude, comprehension ability, talent, and even physique had undergone a qualitative leap. In fact, his realm has only slightly improved at the moment. From the low level of the primary conjurer to the peak of the primary conjurer. But the foundation is extremely solid, and the same realm may be several times higher than others. Correspondingly, his ability has also been greatly improved. Can exert a combat power far beyond the current state. This should be a very powerful template. This person's attainments and spells are simply like a monster, terrifyingly strong. With the thought of Dao Changsheng, a simple data template appeared in front of him. Name, Dao Changsheng, Human Race. Realm, Junior Conjurer, 99%. Fusion Template, Gojo Satoru, Holy Level. Talent Spells, Infinity, Elementary, 6 Eyes, Elementary, Injury Healing, Elementary. Spell, Empty Sound, Elementary. Domain Ability, Infinite Space, Insufficient Mana Power to Expand. Special Ability, Peerless. Incantation, Blackbone Blade, Special Grade. Punch Task, 1. Punch Value, 1600. Looking at the data template in front of him, Dao Changsheng couldn't help but gasped. Immediately afterwards, he was ecstatic. FK, shit, cowhide, isn't this the character template of Wuzhou Wu, the ceiling of combat power, in the spell return battle? Damn, it's worthy of the ceiling of combat power, this template is a pervert. This is simply a monster, an evildoer, who was born with 2 innate skills. Moreover, it is still the top twin talent. Looking at the property panel, Dao Changsheng was stunned. He never thought that the template that had been fused for more than half a year was actually Wuzhou Wu. Mr. Wuzhou is known as the ceiling of combat power, a monster beyond the limit. When he was a teenager, his combat power reached the top of the magic world, and he was a truly peerless evildoer. And his ability is also a strong explosion. For such a long time, Dao Changsheng's realm has not improved at all, causing him to receive a lot of blank stares and ridicule. But at this moment, Dao Changsheng felt it was worth it. Cool, so cool. Dao Changsheng couldn't help laughing out loud. In fact, his original ability was an empty sound of healing and spells. The other abilities are endowed by the fusion of the 5 enlightenment templates. It can be said that every ability of Wuzhou Wu is a strong existence against the sky. With such a monstrous talent template, as long as he continues to develop, I'm afraid his growth will be very terrifying. Among other things, the spell ability derived from the 2 innate spell formulas is very powerful. However, this time is not the time to analyze these abilities. He has more important things to do. Yao Qiner, you have to hold on. Let me feel how powerful Gojo Satoru is. Dao Changsheng said, raising his hand to grab it. The black bone melted into a black thread and was put into an inconspicuous silver ring in his hand. Unlimited expansion. Dao Changsheng said silently in his heart. Chapter 3. Dao Changsheng's 2 fingers are like swords, standing on his chest. The other 3 fingers twisted and pinched a seemingly simple but extremely weird spell seal. The concussion of the spell power, which has expanded more than 10 times, instantly launched the use of infinite spells. After perfectly integrating Wuzhou Wu's character template, using Wuzhou Teacher's ability, he can completely wave his fingers. However, his current spell power is too low, and he can only show a very weak part of his ability. But enough is enough. At least, he should have the real power to protect himself. Expanding infinitely, Dao Changsheng was suspended in mid-air without any external force. Then, his whole body was like a bullet being fired. At a speed faster than just falling, it flew towards the 24th floor. 24th floor. 1 minute ago. The front wall suddenly turned into a mass of black liquid, which began to boil like lava from hell. Immediately afterwards, a strange and hideous grey face appeared on it. On this face, there is only one green pupil, and the mouth is split to the back of the head. The ferocious grey face drilled out of the wall and landed lightly in front of Yao Qiner. He has a humanoid body, grey and white all over, with 3 fingers on his hands and feet. The moment he appeared, he rushed to Yao Qiner in an instant and punched her out. Boom! The terrifying power of the curse erupted, shaking the entire building. The barrier in front of Yao Qiner shattered in an instant, and she crossed her arms in front of her. However, she still underestimated the destructive power of the opponent's terror. A punch shattered the enchantment barrier and hit Yao Qiner's arms. Suddenly, all the walls on the 24th floor exploded. Yao Qiner's body was thrown outside like a kite with a broken thread. Puff! Yao Qiner sprayed out a cloud of blood mist, and the wound on the shoulder armor burst open again. This cursed spirit is too powerful. A punch had shattered her arm bones, and her internal organs were also damaged. If it weren't for her strong willpower, this punch would probably make her faint from pain. Am I going to die? Yao Qiner coughed up a ball of blood, her body was punched out of the building, and flew away into the distance. At this moment, Yao Qiner's whole world seemed to be quiet. It seems that even the soul has left the body, and the consciousness has become blurred. Jujutsu, human being, you are too weak. I'm about to die before I try my best. It's so boring. The 3-fingered curse spirit split its terrifying mouth parts, revealing a ferocious and terrifying smile. Then, he stepped on his legs hard, and the 24-story building collapsed completely. The 3-finger curse spirit turned into a grey-white afterimage. Between the fingers, a half-meter-long bone blade was ejected. With a flash of figure, he tore through the sky, chasing and killing Yao Qiner who was in mid-air. He wanted to tear Yao Qiner's body apart and devour it slowly. The flesh and blood of a high-level conjurer contains powerful mantra power, which is a great supplement to the mantra spirit. Yao Qiner's body was sent flying from a height of 100 meters, and crashed into the second-floor building not far away. Fortunately, this is just an abandoned real estate, and there are no people around. Seeing, her body was about to hit the building. Yao Qiner had a sad smile on her face. Is it going to end? I hope that idiot Dao Changsheng is okay and can escape. At the last moment, what appeared in Yao Qiner's mind was the scene of Dao Changsheng healing him countless times. After all, it's not an exaggeration for the two to get along day and night during the 6 months they formed the team. Among the 3-person team, Dao Changsheng is the weakest. However, he was never afraid of danger, and he could rush forward desperately in the face of powerful curse spirits. Although this idiot has always been protected by her and Gobi. But Dao Changsheng, didn't he risk his life countless times to heal their injuries? Thoughts wandering. Yao Qiner thought she was about to crash into the building behind, but suddenly felt a slight lightness in her body. Immediately afterwards, she was embraced by a soft and warm arm. With me here, you still can't die. What are you thinking? You look so hopeless. This is not like you. A warm and indifferent voice rang in Yao Qiner's ears. Yao Qiner opened her eyes in shock. Suddenly found that she was being embraced by Dao Changsheng at the moment. And the two of them are actually suspended in the air? Wait, how is that possible? Even a super conjurer can't easily fly in the air without mastering special abilities. How did Dao Changsheng, a junior conjurer, do it? Besides, the punch of the three-fingered cursed spirit was extremely powerful. That formidable power and buffer force can easily penetrate steel, but it is not something that can be caught at any time. Changsheng, you. Yao Qiner opened her small mouth slightly, a little dazed, and looked at Dao Changsheng with a shocked expression on her face. She even thought that she was dead, everything was a dream. But the sharp pain in her arm and shoulder reminded her that it was all real. Don't talk, you have a good rest, I'll deal with him. There was a gentle smile on the corner of Dao Changsheng's mouth, and his face was full of confidence. Seeing this scene, Yao Qiner always felt that Dao Changsheng seemed to be different. Without thinking too much, Yao Qiner hugged Dao Changsheng's neck reluctantly. The whole person is attached to Dao Changsheng. The warm breath made Yao Qiner's face slightly hot. Crush it, weak human bug. Just at this moment, a terrifying grey long shadow just flashed over. His three-finger-long bone blade turned into a ray of cold light, and slashed at Dao Changsheng and Yao Qiner. Although, it was also very surprised that Yao Qiner was fine and was rescued by a young man. However, a low IQ will only make him more excited. Dao Changsheng's star-like eyes flickered slightly. This blow was very strong, and he opened his 6 eyes so fast that he could barely see through it. If it was him before, he would definitely be torn apart by one blow. However, at this moment, when his 6-eyed ability was activated, everything seems to be slowing down. Boom! A line of blood shot out. As it approached, a ferocious grey-white arm was thrown out. Advanced mantra, are you so weak? A cold, emotionless voice echoed in the air. At this time, the three-fingered curse spirit realized that the arm he was attacking was cut off by the young man opposite. He froze for a moment, not understanding how all this happened. At this moment, a black shadow leg whip fell on his head again. Chapter 4. Chop Suey, get down. Dao Changsheng's cold voice sounded again. Infinite empty sound. Before he finished speaking, his leg had already hit the three-fingered curse spirit hard on the head. In this attack, he naturally combined Wu Zhao's infinite spell with his own empty sound spell. All the power was concentrated on one point of the leg, and it struck down fiercely. Boom! The three-fingered curse spirit let out a strange scream. The small half of his head exploded in an instant, splashing blood everywhere. And his body, like a meteor, crashed down towards a 3-story unfinished building below. The ground exploded, and the 3-story unfinished building completely collapsed. Ding! Kill the high-level spell spirit and get 300 check-in points. Collecting high-level spell beads can increase the progress of collecting check-in side tasks. In my mind, a reminder appeared again. Dao Changsheng didn't care, but put away the long blade. Holding Yaokan Er in her arms, she lightly landed on the ground. At this moment, Dao Changsheng was obviously tired. FK, it's too strong, it's worthy of the template blessing of teacher Wu Xiao. A junior conjurer, can he step up and kill a high-level conjurer? At this time, although Dao Changsheng was a little tired, the surprise on his face was not concealed. It was really because his record was too dazzling, which gave him a lot of surprises. Originally, he thought that if he shot with all his strength, he would be able to kill the mid-level curse spirit at most, which would be pretty good. However, he just exploded and killed the high-level curse spirit in seconds. You know, high-level spell spirits have lightweight missile-level explosive power. Even if they are hit head-on by a bomb, it is difficult to injure them. Moreover, they have super regeneration ability and have various strange methods. It is even more difficult to kill them. However, just after he used his talent of infinite art with all his strength, his fighting power exploded. In just 2 moves, a high-level curse spirit was killed. If this record gets out, everyone will be shocked. Infinite spells, he has only mastered a little power of the basic unlimited spells, and it is already so terrifying. The blow of the high-level spell spirit just now was the ability to cast an infinite spell, Never Touch Me. All the magical abilities that attack him will become slower and slower after approaching him, making it difficult to touch him. Of course, this ability must have a limit. However, Dao Changsheng was sure that even a full blow from a low-level high-level spell spirit would not be able to completely crack this terrifying spell. While avoiding the fatal blow, Dao Changsheng used 6 eyes to see through all the opponent's moves. Using the ability with no lower limit, the distance between each other is shortened instantly, the arm of the opponent is cut off in an instant, and the head is kicked off. It can be said that unless the strength far surpasses him too much. Otherwise, you will never be able to touch him, and it will be difficult to avoid his attacks. This is the horror of the no lower limit technique. Can't hit, can't escape. It is simply an ability against the sky, very abnormal. It can also be said that there is no solution at all. It's just that all this seems to be smooth, very easy. But it also consumed most of Dao Changsheng's spell power, and his body became exhausted. If it weren't for his super physical fitness, far surpassing his peers, he almost fell from the sky just now. Dao Changsheng also realized that this kind of battle consumes a lot of magic power. If you don't have to, you must spare some energy next time. Fortunately, there is only one high-level curse spirit. If another one appeared, even if it was an intermediate spell spirit, he would not be able to win. He doesn't have much strength to fight anymore. After all, it is too much to kill across 2 great realms. Changsheng, when did you become so strong? The high-level curse spirits were all killed by you. Tell me, did you deliberately hide your strength before? Yao Qiner looked at Dao Changsheng in shock. There was an expression of disbelief on her face. Is this too exaggerated? Even if she was not injured, it would be very difficult to kill this high-level curse spirit. But as soon as Dao Changsheng made a move, he solved the opponent. This simply overturned all her impressions of Dao Changsheng. Is this still the Dao Changsheng who needs their protection all the time and is the weakest? This. Dao Changsheng let go of Yao Qiner in his arms, and rubbed his nose in embarrassment. Then he said, I just saw that you are in danger, I made a temporary breakthrough, and realized a new and powerful spell ability. I didn't expect to kill this curse spirit by accident, and I didn't expect it myself. Dao Changsheng found a random reason and prevaricated. Of course, what he said was indeed true. If they hadn't just fused the templates and made a breakthrough, both of them would be extremely dangerous. You think I'll believe your nonsense? What kind of incantation ability can make you instantly kill across 2 great realms? Let's not talk about you, even the teacher He Wu Chang, and the principal, in your realm, they are not so powerful. Humph, I always feel that you must have hidden your strength before. Yao Qiner rolled her eyes at Dao Changsheng, with an expression that would be strange if she believed you. Thank you, I really thought I was going to die just now. After a little silence, on Yao Qiner's pale face, a pair of beautiful eyes are staring at Dao Changsheng. Full of excitement. She was grateful to Dao Changsheng for making a shot at a critical moment. The other half, she was shocked by Dao Changsheng's sudden display of terrifying strength. This Dao Changsheng is simply a little monster, evildoer. With her strength, she couldn't even see how the opponent made that terrifying blow just now. This can only show that Dao Changsheng may be stronger than himself. Okay, don't think too much, I'll get the spell beads first, and I'll go back to heal your wounds right away, I can't stay here for long. Dao Changsheng gave a word of comfort. Then, he walked directly into the ruins of the building. There is a huge cracked pit. Chapter 5. Inside the pit lay a three-fingered curse spirit with a broken head and twisted limbs. High-level spell spirits basically have their heads crushed, and it is completely impossible for them to be revived, so there is nothing to worry about. At this time, the body of the three-fingered curse spirit was gradually turning into a grey-white liquid, which disappeared. Their bodies are condensed by the power of the extremely filthy curse. As long as it is killed, it will dissipate in a short time. And within their bodies, a curse bead will form. If you don't take it away, after a while, the spell bead absorbs enough negative energy, and it will grow into a new spell spirit again. Puff! Dao Changsheng raised his hand and grabbed it, unfolding infinite power. Immediately, a grey-white bead the size of a thumb flew out of the melted liquid. This is the curse bead. It contains a strong mantra. For conjurers, it is also a necessary material for cultivation, making spell tools, etc. High-level spell beads are worth a lot, worth more than 30 million dragon coins, enough to make ordinary people become multimillionaires in an instant. Of course, Dao Changsheng is impossible to sell. Ding! Harvest a high-level spell bead, the progress of the branch collection check-in task, primary spell bead 5/10, intermediate spell bead 3/5, advanced spell bead 1/3, special grade spell bead 0/1. Looking at the check-in task, there is still a long way to go before it can be completed. He worked hard for 2 months, and the progress was not even half completed. In order to complete this check-in task, he risked his life many times in the past 2 months, and almost died, so he changed to such a little guard. But as soon as I made a move today, I got a high-level spell orb. Dao Changsheng is very satisfied. He is confident that he will be able to complete this check-in task in less than a week. Suddenly, his expression changed. With a flash of figure, he instantly activated the infinite spell, and arrived in front of Yao Qiner. Dao Changsheng drew out the long black blade and looked forward vigilantly to the left. He could feel that there was a powerful spell approaching rapidly. Although he consumed a lot of magic spirit, he could barely hold on for a while with the unlimited operation. Yao Qiner was seriously injured, and the two of them couldn't continue to fight at high intensity. Boom! 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 In front of me, 2 buildings that were already in dilapidated condition suddenly burst open. An extremely terrifying figure was crashing into a huge building and charging toward them. That aura was like a giant wild beast, furiously crashing into the mountains, and it was as terrifying as the sky falling apart. For me, die, die, die. If you dare to stop me from saving Qiner and the oil bottle, I will smash you. There was a furious scolding sound. Soon, as the 2 buildings collapsed, several figures appeared quickly. I saw a huge purple figure 2 to 3 meters high, and a slender and weird existence was being blasted away with a punch. The slender and weird being was blown away by a punch, and his body was in mid-air, and was hit by purple giant shadows one after another. A huge fist like a wash basin, bombarding wildly. It turned into a group of afterimages, and hit the slender existence severely. Slender exists on the body, like an explosion, making a muffled thunderous explosion. The purple giant shadow's crazy vent-like fist power and explosive output made people feel scalp-numbing despair at the first sight. It's Gobi, this bull, gone crazy again. Dao Changsheng narrowed his eyes slightly, looked at the figure fighting in the air, couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief, and put away the long blade in his hand. Gobi is his partner in the same team and class. He was originally single-handedly picking up another high-level spell spirit in the next area. And he was on the same team as Yao Qiner. Unexpectedly, the barbarian bull came to them. Under the observation of his 6 eyes, he saw clearly the scene of the two fighting in every detail. I saw Gobi, who was transforming into a huge figure with a height of 3 meters. Purple back, double horns, bull head, human body. On the long tail of the purple minotaur, there is a purple flame. This is exactly the Shikigami purple fire bull he contracted with. Obviously, Gobi chose the way of Shikigami possession to fight. This method is extremely barbaric, and will greatly enhance combat power. Opposite Gobi was a cursed spirit about 2 meters high, with a dark grey body, unusually long arms, and 2 snake-like heads. Obviously, this cursed spirit is completely powerless to fight back. Gobi beat him up like crazy, and his body was smashed to pieces. Snapped. Suddenly, there was a harsh cracking sound from the sky. I saw the purple bull's head whipped out with one tail, instantly smashing the 2 strange snake heads of the cursed spirit on the opposite side. Boom! The purple bull stepped on the double-headed cursed spirit and landed on the ground. Even the flower beds below were all cracked. Then, a terrible scene appeared. The body of the 2-headed cursed spirit suddenly ignited a ball of purple flames, which turned into a ball of ashes and disappeared. Not bad, another high-purity high-grade spell bead. The purple minotaur hooked its tail and picked up a pure grey magic bead on the ground. After wiping it, it was thrown directly into the mouth. Like chewing beans, Kaka swallowed it. The curse bead, as hard as alloy steel, was actually swallowed alive by this minotaur? Hey, bullhead, be merciful, and give me the spell bead. At this time, Dao Changsheng hurried over and shouted. In other words, he just needs high-level spell beads for his mission. This Gobi actually swallowed it alive? Only Gobi, who has transformed into a Shikigami, dares to act so recklessly, right? Go away, this is my food. Just as Dao Changsheng approached, a hint of tyranny suddenly appeared in the red eyes of the purple barbarian. He turned around and punched Dao Changsheng without hesitation. Damn it, Gobi, UBD, wake up quickly, if you can't control the Shikigami, don't be brave. Dao Changsheng was also taken aback by the sudden punch of the purple bull. He also didn't expect that Gobi would attack him. A fist as big as a wash basin, carrying the sound of wind and thunder. With one punch, I am afraid that a tank can be blown up. Stop, Gobi, what are you doing? Behind Dao Changsheng, Yao Qiner saw this scene and couldn't help scolding him hastily. Gobi's strength is extremely strong, even stronger than the 3-fingered curse spirit he just killed. Even if Dao Changsheng has the ability to leapfrog fighting, but now he definitely doesn't have much mana power. Dao Changsheng might really be in danger if he was really hit by this Shikigami. But Yao Qiner was also seriously injured at this time, so how could she stop it? Chapter 6. The purple fire savage bull punched out, shaking the ground and shaking the mountains. Under the boost of Shikigami, this punch is extremely powerful. Plus this can be called a surprise punch. If it were someone else, let alone a junior conjurer, even a high-level conjurer may be severely wounded and dying. However, the next scene made Yao Qiner slightly stunned. I saw Dao Changsheng standing where he was, not moving at all, as if he had been frightened stupid. The corner of his mouth, however, evoked a smile inexplicably. Young man, you don't talk about martial arts, you actually play sneak attack. Dao Changsheng stood where he was, with a relaxed expression on his face. It seemed that he didn't care about this punch. Boom! A terrifying punch blasted out. As expected, Dao Changsheng was hit by a punch. There was a blast of air. The place where Dao Changsheng was standing was cracked inch by inch. And the ground behind him exploded into a ditch several meters long. Behind her, Yao Qina reluctantly moved away, but was not affected. Changsheng, how are you okay? Yao Qina came to her senses and asked with concern. I saw the purple bull's fist hitting Dao Changsheng's front door. If this punch was real, Dao Changsheng's head might turn into a burst watermelon. But it's strange that Dao Changsheng doesn't seem to be hurt at all. Moo. I'm going to smash you. See Dao Changsheng intact and even smiling. The Shikigami Zuo bull was also slightly stunned. But in the next second, 2 streams of white gas visible to the naked eye spewed out from his 2 big nostrils. The young man in front of him repeatedly mocked him for his lack of strength, which made him very angry. In an instant, his rationality was overwhelmed, and under the rage, even Gobi's consciousness was completely suppressed. Bullhead, haven't you eaten? Come on, output to the head of the young master, if you can hurt me, I will lose. Dao Changsheng looked at Zuo Bull with a light smile on his face, and said teasingly. With Wuzhou Wu's no lower limit technique, the Zuo Bull's fist couldn't touch his body at all. Even though this Shikigami is very strong, it didn't break through his critical point and really hurt him. Changsheng, you are crazy, don't provoke this stupid cow. Gobi's consciousness must be suppressed by Shikigami, if you do this, Shikigami may go berserk, and Gobi may be in danger. Yao Qina exclaimed, looking at Dao Changsheng with disbelief, with a hint of worry. Although she was shocked that Dao Changsheng could resist this punch. However, if the Zuo barbarian bull is really able to unleash its true strength, even in his heyday, he has no chance of winning, even Gobi himself is enough. You know, this purple fire buffalo is half a step away from evolving to the level of a super Shikigami. Very scary. Don't worry, I know what's going on. Gobi couldn't control this stupid bull, so he beat him up, and when it hurt, he gave in. Dao Changsheng smiled confidently at Yao Qina, motioning her to stay away. Yao Qina was helpless, but knew that persuasion was useless at this time. I can only hold my injured body and try to walk as far away as possible. Little devil, if you dare to provoke this Shikigami, I will smash you to pieces. Facing Dao Changsheng so provocative, seemingly ignoring him at all, the purple fire barbarian went berserk completely. He threw out his fists like a bazooka, beating Dao Changsheng crazily. Every punch comes with a terrifying white air mass, tearing the air, making a sound of gas explosion, extremely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the purple fire barbarian punched hundreds of punches. Every punch hit Dao Changsheng's body firmly, knocked him out directly. Dao Changsheng was like a sandbag, he was punched continuously in the air. Not only that, but the 2 buildings next to it also suffered. The terrifying output of the Zuo buffalo is barely broken like tofu. Don't want. Yao Qina turned pale with shock, and quickly exclaimed. Seeing Dao Changsheng being beaten hundreds of times in a row, my heart skipped a beat. However, she soon became stunned. Chapter 7. I saw that Dao Changsheng was still alive and kicking and dodging like a normal person after receiving so many punches. No, the purple fire bull didn't touch him at all. At this time, Yao Qina, who had calmed down, observed carefully and came up with an astonishing piece of information. After all, every punch of the purple fire bull seemed to hit Dao Changsheng, knocked him out. But upon careful observation, Yao Qina was shocked to find that Dao Changsheng was not injured at all. Not only that, but even the clothes were not torn. This is too unreasonable. There is only one explanation, and that is that the fist of the purple fire bull didn't actually touch Dao Changsheng's body. Otherwise, whether it is replaced by her. Even with the existence of higher-level super magicians, they couldn't really withstand such a terrifying attack without getting hurt at all. Could this be the new technique ability he awakened? Yao Qina showed a strange expression. Isn't Dao Changsheng's ability only one recovery? It can only treat injuries, how can it be possible to awaken the second innate technique? Even in today's school, their strongest principal has only one talent spell. Dao Changsheng's ability is not a spell at all. At this time, countless doubts arose in Yao Qiner's heart. For this battle, there is a new feeling. You've thrown so many punches, it's my turn to strike. Dao Changsheng looked slightly out of breath, but he didn't touch his purple fire bowl. At the moment of speaking, it suddenly disappeared. No lower limit ability, teleportation activated. In an instant, his figure moved behind the purple fire bowl. No lower limit spell king. All the remaining magic power in Dao Changsheng's body was mobilized. On one of his fingers, a cluster of purple-black light was condensing. There is thunder and lightning roaring above, exuding a terrible breath. And Dao Changsheng's complexion gradually became grim. He never expected that this move would consume such a huge amount. What little mana he had left had been exhausted. Not only that, even his abundant physical strength was completely mobilized. It seemed that this move was absorbing all his strength. Even the blood in the body began to boil. There is only one possibility. It's just that his current strength is too weak, and his roots are not enough to support this move. It made him feel out of control. Ah! Suddenly, the purple bull roared. He actually stopped attacking and retracted his fist. On his face, the original fierce look turned into a look of fear. Look at the purple lightning ball on Dao Changsheng's finger that is getting bigger and bigger. That black hole-like sphere of purple light seemed to possess terrifying destructive power. The Shikigami finally gave up. He actually withdrew his will, and his whole body shrank rapidly. Changsheng, I'm sorry, I ran away again. The purple fire bull is too strong, I still can't control it well. At this time, a simple and honest voice sounded, full of deep apologies. Immediately afterwards, at a speed visible to the naked eye, the purple fire bull turned into a burly young man with his upper body naked. The young man has a Huxia character face, a burly height of nearly 2 meters, and a simple and honest look. At this moment, both he and Yao Qiner looked at each other, and both looked at Dao Changsheng in shock. I can't control this force, you get out of the way. Dao Changsheng didn't pay attention to the shocked expressions of the two, but gave a loud shout. Immediately afterwards, he barely controlled the purple light ball in his hand, and flicked it to the side. Boom! Not far away, the 28-story tallest building exploded. A terrible force erupted, and the whole building exploded and collapsed. On the ground, a huge pit with a diameter of more than 10 meters exploded, and the surrounding area was in a mess. Take me back. After saying this, Dao Changsheng rolled his eyes, and immediately lost his strength and passed out. Damn it, this kid doesn't know how to backfire. Gobi hurriedly dodges and directly picks up the fallen Dao Changsheng. He and Yao Qiner looked at the place where the building collapsed at the same time, swallowed their saliva, and looked shocked and unbelievable. What a terrible move, no wonder my Shikigami were scared away. I was going to take this blow just now, and I must have lost half of my life. Gobi showed a scared expression, and a layer of cold sweat broke out on his head. It's not because of you, a stupid cow, if something happens to Changsheng, I will never end with you. Yao Qiner cursed angrily. Hurry up and take Changsheng back, let He Wuchang take a look, we must not let him have an accident. Yao Qiner rolled her eyes at the honest young man. Then, the two hugged Dao Changsheng and disappeared into the night. Chapter 8. Yao Qiner and Gobi just left. In this abandoned development area, countless strange figures suddenly appeared. If you look at it from the air, you will be shocked to find it. A group of giant spiders with weird and twisted appearance and a height of more than 1 meter crawled in. The most frightening thing is that these spiders have young corpses in their mouths. If you look closely, they are all wearing school uniforms, both male and female, and very young. It seems that these young corpses are all students, or high school students. Judging from their pale and bloodless faces and their silent appearance, it can be seen that they should all be dead. These spiders took all the young corpses in their mouths and threw them all into the huge hole that Dao Changsheng just blasted out. Soon, there were more than a dozen corpses neatly placed inside. Hey hey hey! There was a strange and eerie laugh. Immediately afterwards, one was 2 or 3 meters tall. The upper body was an extremely strong green-haired man, and the lower body was a terrifying curse spirit with a spider body, and slowly walked to the side of the pit. His eyes scanned the area, and there was a trace of vicious anger in his eyes. Immediately afterwards, he laughed wildly. Weak, too weak. With the strength of 3 fingers and old snake skin, it is too shameful to be killed by such a weak existence. However, if you dare to touch His Highness Shadow Lord's curse spirit, you are courting death. Little ones, look for more blood food, and there must be no mistakes in the sacrifice of God Yin after 7 days. Remember the aura of those 3 brats who just left. If you encounter them again, shoot them to death. They are also excellent blood sacrifice materials. In the eyes of the man with green hair and spider body, there is a dignified killing intent. He opened his fangs, stuck out a long scarlet tongue, made a weird expression, and roared to the sky. Yes, Lord Green Spider! After his command. Behind him, 3 groups of weird and twisted beings scattered and disappeared into the night. Time flies, and the night is fleeting. 8 o'clock the next morning. In the Donghua district of Shanghai, in the depths of a bamboo forest, inside a single-family villa. Last night, I seemed to have a dream. Dao Changsheng touched his sinking head and got up from an extremely large and comfortable bed. Looking around, he soon knew where he was. Beside him, there was a large breakfast that had been prepared long ago. Milk, salad, bread, eggs, and a plate of fried steak. It's still the little rich woman Chiner who understands me, haha, let's eat something first. Dao Changsheng was neither polite nor restrained. They got up together and bounced lightly under the bed. Wearing a silk nightgown, he picked up his breakfast and started to gobble it up. At this moment, Dao Changsheng feels very hungry. Looking at the wall clock on the wall, the time should have just passed 1 night. It seems that Yao Chiner brought herself directly to her private residence. He and Gobi have been here many times before, so they are no strangers. After all, the kennel he rented was far worse than here. Yao Chiner's single-family villa has a lot of rooms, so it's no problem for several people to live there. But, he didn't expect that Yao Chiner didn't send him to school. Instead, sent it to your own home? It seems that she also realized that Dao Changshen's situation is special. In order to protect his privacy, he did not hand it over to the school without his permission. What a clever little ghost! Humph, that idiot Gobi is such an idiot. When I recover, I must give him a little bit of suffering. Dao Changsheng complained while eating. If Gobi hadn't been possessed by a Shikigami and ran away violently, making him try his best, how could he pass out from exhaustion? However, both Yao Chiner and Gobi's backgrounds can be considered rich. When the time comes, you must blackmail them well. With a thought, Dao Changsheng began to check his own condition. The mental power swept over him, but he didn't find the slightest injury. No internal or external injuries. Apart from being a little hungry, he was in better health than ever. Even, he broke through? Damn, it's just a nap, and you've broken through to an intermediate conjurer. Dao Changsheng quickly swallowed the beef in his mouth, his face was full of shock. On his attribute panel, it was clearly shown that he was already an intermediate magician. Not only that, he also felt that his physique seemed to be much stronger. The spell power, which was originally stronger than that of the same level, has now increased by at least 3 times. In his Danshan Sea, there are 2 wash basin-sized, incomparably solid milky white whirlwinds. This is the magic vortex. Gathering 2 of them means entering the realm of an intermediate conjurer. These 2 cyclones, like 2 spiral vortexes like a sea of clouds, seemed to contain terrifying power. He heard that other people's magic vortexes are at most as big as a fist, and they are considered geniuses. But when it came to him, it turned over 10 times directly, reaching the size of a wash basin. This reserve of mana power can already beat all the same level. Cool, so cool, my current spell power should be stronger than that of ordinary high-level magicians. Dao Changsheng grinned, his face full of relief. In the battle last night, he broke through the limit, and even allowed himself to break through the realm. If this gets out, everyone will be shocked. If you can break through and sleep, who can you reason with? It seems that all this is because of his extremely solid foundation. With the addition of Gojo Satoru's attribute template, his talent has reached a new height. It was so easy to break through. According to his understanding, in the magic world. In the previous stage, the boundaries were divided into beginner, intermediate, advanced, premium. This is a class. After breaking through the special level, you will enter a whole new field. However, this is still some distance away from Dao Changsheng, so I don't care. Hey, Dai Niang, you have been taking care of me for so long, call your master to come in. Suddenly, Dao Changsheng opened his mouth and looked towards the light blue wall in front of him. Under his gaze, a ripple appeared on the blue wall. Immediately afterwards, a woman with blue wings and blue hair reaching her waist. She has a beautiful face, with 2 pure black pupils. On the forehead, a strange woman with a pair of pink tentacles emerged from the wall. This is the unique ability of the curse spirit, through the wall. And the strange female curse spirit in front of her is said to be a spirit inherited from the Yeokan family. Dao Changsheng, you kid actually know that I am in this room, and you can still find out my location. No wonder the lady said when she came back, you have become very strong, even worse than her. The technique is also very strange, it seems that it is really capable. Dai Niang showed a surprised expression, looked at Dao Changsheng, and her tone was extremely surprised. With her strength. Don't say Dao Changsheng. Even a real super conjurer can't even feel the slightest bit. But how did Dao Changsheng find out? Dai Niang, this is my secret. Dao Changsheng swallowed the last bit of food and drank the milk. Well, come with me, Miss has something to look for you. Since you can catch my breath, follow me and don't get lost. Suddenly, Dai Niang let out a coquettish smile. Snapped. Her body exploded suddenly, turning into a light blue starlight, which disappeared. Damn, the breath completely disappeared. Seeing this, Dao Changsheng couldn't help frowning slightly, and he stood there in a daze, and let out an exclamation. Chapter 9. Dao Changsheng looked at the empty room and was also slightly stunned. Didn't expect Dai Niang to abandon him directly and disappear? In fact, he was checking himself just now. When I used my mind to observe, I suddenly found that there was a faint and indelible aura hidden in the front wall. This breath is very obscure, but somewhat familiar. Dao Changsheng can naturally guess that in Yao Qiner's territory, Dai Niang, the friend of nature, has such strength. Dai Niang is very mysterious, and Dao Changsheng doesn't know how strong she is. Not to mention Dao Changsheng, even Yao Qiner, the little master, doesn't know Dai Niang's state. I just know that she is very powerful, and seems to be a terrifying existence above the super magic spirit. Such a mysterious and powerful existence naturally cannot be contracted by a weak chicken like a high-level conjurer. According to Yao Qiner, Dai Niang has a very special relationship with her family. In this generation, Dai Niang only recognized her. Be her guardian. In the future, if one day I am strong enough, I may have the opportunity to contract Dai Niang as a Shikigami. It's just a pity that Dai Niang seems to have some kind of contract restriction, and she can't leave too far away from her surroundings as a last resort. Otherwise, with Dai Niang's strength, it is impossible for Yao Qiner to be easily injured outside. Such a powerful existence is naturally not something that Dao Changsheng can easily perceive. I was able to perceive it just now because of Wujo Wumobon's innate and powerful Six Eyes talent. Talent 6 Eyes, Holy Level Talent. 1. It can detect the people behind it, and it is difficult to be attacked. 2. Can see through the opponent's spells. 3. Only those who have 6 eyes can release no lower limit spells. 4. Penetrating falsehoods and perceiving subtleties. 5. Super comprehension, photographic memory, any spells, cheats, etc., can be understood quickly. 6. Unknown, not strong enough to release stronger abilities. This is the ability of the 6 Eyes talent. According to the introduction of the system, Dao Changsheng can feel that this is a very powerful pupil technique ability. Similar to the Eye of God, cast through one's own pupils. With just one talent, there are more than 5 or 6 kinds of ability changes. This is simply the ability to cheat, it shouldn't be too powerful. Seeing the ability of 6 Eyes, Dao Changsheng was also very surprised and delighted. System, is the ability of the 6 Eyes stronger than the original Wujo Wu? Dao Changsheng suddenly asked thoughtfully. Yes, Master, Gojo Satoru's template has been enhanced to a certain extent according to the strength and rules of this world. To what extent it can be developed, the Master needs to explore and evolve by himself. The voice of the system sounded and replied. In other words, all my current templates are enhanced versions. Dao Changsheng was pleasantly surprised again. Yes, Master. In theory, as long as the Master continues to grow, the same ability can be infinitely stronger than the original Gojo Satoru. The system's calm voice sounded again. Damn, it's cool, it's worthy of being my young Master's golden finger. Dao Changsheng nodded with a smile, showing a satisfied expression. Unexpectedly, my own 5 Enlightenment template is still an augmented version. From this point of view, his growth limit has become even more terrifying. Then, he was not in a hurry to chase Dai Niang. Instead, the Properties panel opens again. Name, Dao Changsheng, Human Race. Realm, Intermediate Conjurer, 26%. Fusion Template, Gojo Satoru, Holy Level. Talent Spells, Infinity, Elementary, 6 Eyes, Elementary, Injury Healing, Elementary. Spell, Empty Sound, Elementary. Domain Ability, Infinite Space, Insufficient Mana Power to Expand. Special Ability, Peerless. Incantation, Blackbone Blade, Advanced. Punch Task, 1. Punch Value, 1900. Except for the change of realm, other attributes have not changed significantly. However, he discovered something through the subtle property changes in the property panel. For example, the progress bar of that realm, look carefully, is 26.639%. But in just a few minutes, it has increased by 0.006%. From this point of view, is he growing stronger all the time? Even if he didn't deliberately cultivate, the realm of his cultivation was slowly increasing. After incorporating Gojo Satoru's character template, this growth rate can be called abnormal. Then, his gaze turned to infinity. Unlimited talent, Super Saint talent. Divided into forward operation and reverse operation. 1. No lower limit spell, the power of stopping is an infinite series that converges on the person. The effect is that the speed of all objects approaching the person will become slower and slower, and they will never touch the person. 2. King, the effect is to create a strong absorption reaction. The principle is similar to changing the distance between multiple objects into negative infinity. If the reaction is too large, it will explode. 3. Long distance teleportation, it is necessary to pre-select a movement route without obstacles. 4. Reversing technique, he, uncontrolled. 5. Anti-spell formula, imaginary formula, uncontrolled. 6. Infinity, unknown. In comparison, infinite talent is a lot more complicated. Although he can fully understand, and even calmly display these controlling abilities. However, it is still far from being fully in control and making more changes. No longer thinking about it, this ability is actually more powerful than the six-eyed talent. It seems that if you want to fully understand and control, you need to improve your strength. You can't keep that girl waiting. Dao Changsheng shook his head slightly, and stopped looking at other things. Then, his originally dark pupils gradually turned into ice blue. Like a bright sapphire, very beautiful. Six-eyed talent, penetrating. With the real development of the ability of the six eyes. Dao Changsheng's gaze also looked at the door. In the depths of his pupils, a bright color was reflected. It was a trace of residual light blue light. These filaments of light intermittently extend along the room and out of the room. Hey, I found it, Dai Niang, you must have never imagined that I can see through your residual breath so easily. A smile appeared on the corner of Dao Changsheng's mouth. Then, he quickly put on his own clothes next to him. Following the aura observed by the six eyes, he chased after the door. I have to say that the six-eyed talent is indeed terrifying. Even Dai Niang, who was so much stronger than him, did not leave any breath behind. However, he still found the remaining track. This should not be Dai Niang's breath, but the traces of her spell power. Any spell, as long as it is cast, will leave a unique trace. Ordinary people can't feel it at all. However, under the six-eyed talent, there is nothing to hide. As long as it doesn't dissipate for a long time, you can find some clues. In the following time, Dao Changsheng walked out of the room following this intermittent faint trace. Soon, he came to a balcony outside. In the bamboo forest in front. Dao Changsheng stood on the balcony of the villa, looking at the bamboo forest hundreds of meters away. Then, he ejected without hesitation. The infinite technique unfolded, and wherever he looked, his figure instantly appeared hundreds of meters away. Chapter 10. Dao Changsheng launched teleportation. The distance of hundreds of meters is almost there in the blink of an eye. It has to be said that the ability of infinite spells is too powerful. It even has the ability to teleport and float in the air. Even with the strength of his mid-level conjurer, there is no burden to cast it. At least, the teleportation of hundreds of meters consumes very little and can be ignored. Of course, if it is a continuous teleportation, the mana consumption will be doubled. The faster the speed, the farther the distance is, and the requirements for physical fitness and spell power are very high. Fortunately, his physique and spell power are now several times stronger than those of the same class. Slightly weighing in his heart, such a teleportation, he should be able to spread out tens of miles in an instant, before consuming most of his spell power and physical strength. However, if you usually stop and go, you should be able to cast it for a long time without any problem. Not to mention teleportation. From the current point of view, it is impossible for even super magicians and magic spirits to possess such abilities. Even if there is, it must be a shrunken version, and there may be sequelae. And Ling Kongkudu also needs a super conjurer to do it, and he is not as calm as him. Here it is. Dao Changsheng stopped above a bamboo forest. Suddenly, his eyes swept across an open space below, and slowly fell down. I saw Yao Qiner and Dai Niang looking at him. Yao Qiner was full of excitement and looked at Dao Changsheng in shock. Although it wasn't the first time I saw Dao Changsheng's ability, I was still very surprised. An intermediate conjurer can fly and teleport? This ability is too scary. Used in battle, it is really hard to guard against. The little guy can sense my position, and has such a special teleportation ability. Even if Dai Niang is well informed and in a very high state of mind. Seeing Dao Changsheng's ability, a hint of shock flashed in his eyes. Dao Changsheng, compared to when she first met, seems to have become more mysterious. This young man is now a little bit hard for her to see through. However, when she thought that this young man was a friend of the eldest lady, she felt relieved a lot. Even psychologically, still thinking about whether to make do with these two little guys? If it was the past, as an orphan of Dao Changsheng, she would not pay attention to the poor talent at the bottom of the class. However, the potential that Dao Changsheng is displaying now is a good match for Yao Qiner. Changsheng, are your injuries healed? Seeing Dao Changsheng, Yao Qiner immediately expressed concern. Don't worry, I just had a spell riot in my body at that time, I lost my strength and passed out, and I was not injured. Look, I'm an intermediate magician now. As Dao Changsheng said, two balls of milky white air appeared between his fingers, emerged and rotated slowly. This is a special means of releasing the magic power. Through such a display, the strength can be displayed more intuitively. You little monster, you broke through after sleeping. Yao Qiner was slightly stunned, looking at the two cyclones. Such a pure, concentrated mantra power cyclone. Not even her. Seeing this, Yao Qiner, who had always claimed to be a super genius, also felt hit hard. Originally thought that at the age of 17, he would be able to break through to a high-level conjurer, and his talent was already very strong. But now Dao Changsheng gave her the feeling that it would not be long before she could break through the appearance of a senior conjurer. Although Dao Changsheng is 19 years old. But Dao Changsheng only awakened his incantation talent half a year ago and began to practice. And she, in fact, awakened her talent for spells at the age of 14. After practicing for 3 years, his strength is not as good as the opponent's now. The gap in her heart made her a little uncomfortable. After all, she is young and likes to be competitive, so she is still a bit complicated. Miss, you are already very good, don't be discouraged, with your qualifications, you will definitely go further than this kid. Don't worry, with me here, I won't make you worse than anyone else. Seemingly seeing that Yao Qiner was hit, Dai Niang next to her spoke seriously to comfort her. She has confidence in her little master, and even more in herself. Although Dao Changsheng's ability is strange, Yao Qiner will definitely not be much worse. This is Dai Niang's confidence. She didn't want to see Yao Qiner being hit and upset. Yet, don't worry, Dai Niang, Qiner is fine, I will work harder. Yao Qiner smiled and her eyes became firm. Dai Niang nodded in satisfaction. Yao Qiner's temperament is still very good, and she acts decisively. Qiner, have you recovered from your injuries? At this time, Dao Changsheng noticed the position of Yao Qiner's shoulder armor and couldn't help but be surprised. You know, Yao Qiner was seriously injured last night. That wound can't be healed casually. But he could feel that Yao Qiner's aura had fully recovered, even stronger than before. Humph, do you think you are the only one who has the healing spell of a three-legged cat? Dai Niang is super powerful, once she makes a move, I'll be fine in a second. Yao Qiner raised her face as if showing off. A look of arrogance that makes you frightened, Miss Ben's methods are more powerful than yours. Dao Changsheng glanced at the indifferent Dai Niang, then at the arrogant Yao Qiner, and nodded amusedly. This Dai Niang, I have never seen her make a move. Unexpectedly, there is such an ability. Then he asked, did you call me here? Ah, I almost forgot the most important thing. Yao Qiner reacted. Then, she turned on the phone and threw it directly at Dao Changsheng. Dao Changsheng caught it, looked at the picture above, and couldn't help being slightly stunned. Curious from the beginning, calm. Later, after he finished reading, there was an undisguised fury expression on his face. There was even a strong killing intent in his eyes. I saw the title of the video, shocked. The ogre incident was discovered in the Magic City, hundreds of students and young children were brutally murdered. In the video, the journalists took pictures of the horrifying scenes and secret places in the Magic City, which made people's scalp tingle. At the scene, pits with strange runes appeared one after another. Inside the pit, some teenage children lay in disorder. As for the children in the pit, all of them died miserably at this time. The limbs, the head, were all chopped off and crushed by some kind of force. The blood in the whole body seems to be drained, and the whole body is like a mummy. At the position of their hearts, there is a hole in them all, and the hearts inside are missing. There is also a blood hole on their heads. Obviously, the brain and heart seem to have been swallowed by some kind of weird existence. This method can be said to be extremely vicious and cruel. Inside the big pit, many children were still wearing school uniforms, both male and female. All the children are definitely not more than 20 years old, and the youngest may not be more than 12 or 13 years old. Looked at their miserable appearance. Those little faces showed despair, bewilderment, and deep fear. It is conceivable that they may have witnessed some cruel scenes during their lifetime. In the footage taken, there were a total of 8 large pits. What kind of despair and helplessness did these innocent children experience during their lifetime? Even though Dao Changsheng was extremely determined, seeing such a miserable scene, he could only feel blood welling up and his killing intent boiled over. If I'm not mistaken, this should be a blood sacrifice. Such a cruel slaughter of human children is simply outrageous. Damn, all damn, what's going on? At this moment, Dao Changsheng's eyes were reddish. He looked at Yao Qiner, and asked in a deep voice. Chapter 11. At this moment, Dao Changsheng was very angry, and even wanted to kill him. With his temperament, it is rare for him to be so violent. In fact, he has a gentle personality, with a touch of indifference. Not really a nice guy. Not easily for the death of outsiders, how much feeling. After all, in this particular world, death is a very common occurrence. He has seen too much, and he has become numb. It can be said, life and death are taken lightly. If you don't accept it, you just do it. But one thing was a thorn in his heart. He is an orphan. When he came here, he had parents. His parents gave him all the love, spoiled him very much, and let him experience a very warm growth. When he was 7 or 8 years old, one day, his parents never came back. Later, according to the official news, he found out. It turned out that the factory where the parents worked was destroyed. None of the people who worked inside survived. It is said that all the blood was sacrificed by some kind of terrible curse spirit, and all the blood was drained to death. Dao Changsheng still can't let go of the scene he saw when he was a child. Parents are just ordinary people, and they are simply vulnerable in the face of that kind of horror. This is the sorrow of being weak, and it is also a tragic fate that is difficult to escape. After all, this world is too dangerous. Ordinary people are like ants, easily crushed. Because of this, in Dao Changsheng's heart, he had a heart to become stronger since he was a child. He wants to control his own destiny instead of dying at any time. Dao Changsheng, who lost his parents since he was a child, worked very hard to survive. However, losing both parents at such a young age, and having no family to take care of them, is too difficult. Until one day, when he was dying, he met the noble person in his life. That is, his adoptive mother. He survived. The adoptive mother is a very mysterious woman. She asked Dao Changsheng, what is his wish and what kind of person does he want to be? Dao Changsheng blurted out, I want to be the strongest man, the one who stands up to the sky. When the adoptive mother heard about it, she laughed. But she still said, your talent is very weak. Even if I help you become a magician, you may still struggle at the bottom all your life and suffer a lot. Are you willing? Dao Changsheng just nodded, his eyes were firm. After that, he was led away by that woman. It was a lonely snowy night that day. The woman's hands are very soft, and her smile is also very warm. On the verge of despair, Dao Changsheng felt a real warmth. Having such an experience, Dao Changsheng naturally hated those curse spirits who slaughtered human beings very much. In particular, this kind of evil spirit that devours young human beings will trigger painful memories in his heart. Seeing Dao Changsheng's livid and ugly face, Yao Qiner also tightened her face. She knew Dao Changsheng's experience, which obviously stung the teenager's painful memories. This news has been blocked by the higher authorities. However, it still caused a great stir in the Magician Forum, and even issued an A-level killing order. This means that as long as these culprits are found out, whether they are killed or captured alive, they will be rewarded generously. Also, our school has already accepted the task. We are only first-year students, and the task given to us by the academy is to be responsible for detection. Once the traces of these evil spirits are found, the school does not recommend that the first grade take action, but it needs to be reported immediately and fully cooperate with the action. Yao Qiner had a serious face, carefully describing the information she had. In fact, at her age, even if she has a firm personality, she still feels her scalp tingling when she sees the news. Fortunately, these years of experience have made her calm. With your means, have you found information about those evil spirits? Dao Changsheng asked in a low voice. Yao Qiner has a prominent family background and is the apple of the eye. And the shelter of a powerful spiritual creature like Dai Niang must have grasped some information that ordinary people cannot touch. Well, according to the information collected by the family, someone has witnessed the true colors of those evil spirits. It's a cursed spider, the size of a millstone, and it's specially designed to attack some teenagers in dark places with few people. They will paralyze their prey and bring them back to a certain place, collective blood sacrifice. Yao Qiner's eyes flickered, and a murderous intent emerged, and her tone trembled a little. Obviously, she was also very disturbed. Curse the spider! Is this a cursed beast or a cursed spirit? Dao Changsheng questioned. Curses are divided into cursed spirits and cursed beasts. Cursing evil spirits are generally of relatively high intelligence, and most of them are humanoid, and half-humanoid monsters. Not only are they very strong, but they also possess a certain amount of wisdom. Even, some high-level spell spirits are smarter than humans. Among them, there are very few cursed spirits that are not malicious to humans. Even, there are very few individuals who will integrate into the human world. What's more, some highly intelligent and high-level cursed spirits have given birth to offspring with humans. In short, this is a bizarre world, like a dream. The cursed beasts are generally beasts, and they are all kinds of ferocious beasts. Their physical physique is very strong, they don't know much about spells, and their IQs are not high. However, they are naturally hostile to humans, and they will fight to the death when encountering them. There are even some small cities that suffer from the hordes of cursed beasts all year round, and suffer heavy losses each time. No matter which one is, it is actually an enemy to human beings. My family, its heart must be different. What's more, they have invaded the planet where human beings live. This is a mortal hatred. Logically speaking, cursed beasts don't have the wisdom to sacrifice blood. But the cursed spider is obviously a cursed beast. It should be a curse beast controlled by a curse spirit, driven by a powerful evil behind it. Yao Qiner replied. Then, with a trace of excitement on her small face, she said. Coincidentally, Dai Niang caught a sneaky cursed spider outside my villa last night. Maybe we can use it. Dao Changsheng was not only moved, but looked at Dai Niang in surprise. Caught a live one. That's right, this little thing is very fierce, and its strength should be at the high level of elementary magic spirits. It is difficult for ordinary elementary magicians to kill them easily. Dai Niang nodded and explained. Then, she opened her mouth and blew in the direction of the pillars in front. An incredible scene appeared. I saw a lot of green silk threads appearing on a few pillars, weaving them into a triangular cage and hanging on the bamboo. Inside the cage was a cursed spider lying on its stomach. His eyes were red and his fangs were bared. On the back, there is a hideous and distorted grey-white human face pattern. The cursed spider was screaming restlessly in the cage. But the strange thing is that its sound can't be worn at all. He seemed afraid to touch the edge of the cage, trembling with fear. Seeing this, Dao Changsheng was slightly taken aback. After coming here for a long time, he didn't realize the existence of this cage at all. Chapter 12. Seeing Dai Niang's ability, Dao Changsheng was not slightly surprised. Just now, although I didn't search specifically, but with the keen insight of the six eyes, he still felt a faint fluctuation of spiritual power just now. This fluctuation is very light, very faint. It is easy to be overlooked without special inspection. However, this also indirectly shows that Dai Niang's methods are powerful. With his ability, it's hard to feel it, it's really not easy. Is this a very advanced enchantment technique? I heard that only those who are above the special level can master it. I didn't expect Dai Niang's enchantment to be so exquisite. Dao Changsheng took a deep look at Dai Niang, and quietly praised her. Spell enchantment, which can be mastered by reaching a senior conjurer. Yao Qiner's enchantment technique is very good. It seems that this little girl's skills are mostly learned from Dai Niang. To be able to play tricks in the enchantment technique requires extreme concentration and a high level of mental power. Obviously, the two masters and servants who look like sisters in front of them are masters in this field. Of course, Dai Niang not only knows the top enchantment technique, but even comprehended the born realm. Yao Qiner said a little proudly. Birth field. Dao Changsheng was surprised. Domain, this is an ability that can only be comprehended by the existence of super magicians, right? It seems that Dai Niang in front of him is a bit stronger than he imagined. It is said that it is extremely difficult to comprehend the realm of birth. Even if it is an existence above the special level, very few can truly comprehend it, which can be regarded as an extremely powerful ability. Possessing the birth domain, among the same level, it can be regarded as outstanding, and the combat power is stronger. Okay, you two little guys have very strong aptitudes, and you may have the opportunity to master this ability in the future. Miss, tell me the plan you have in mind. Dai Niang showed a helpless gesture, and quickly stopped Yao Qiner to continue exposing her old topic. What's the plan? Dao Changsheng looked at Yao Qiner. Seeing the cursed spider in front of him, obviously, this little girl wants to use it. Yao Qiner nodded. Then, he walked up to his sister, looked at the trembling cursed spider inside, narrowed his eyes slightly, revealing a dangerous light. Dai Niang, you can't leave this land casually, but in a short time, can you control the actions of this cursed spider? Yao Qiner turned around, looked at Dai Niang, and asked expectantly. Of course, she already knew it in her heart. It's just a primary spell spirit, it's too easy to control it. Even if I can't leave here easily, I can remotely control its actions by using the enchantment spell. Dai Niang showed a confident expression, and wrote lightly. Obviously, she is still very confident about her abilities. Her enchantment spell is a kind of spiritual illusion. As long as you leave a curse mark on the opponent, you can directly turn the opponent into your own puppet. Of course, if the distance is too far, or over time, the effect will continue to weaken. This kind of ability is easy to be recruited together with the level. The other party has a low-level spell spirit, which is simply overkill and can be controlled at will. Well, that would be great. Yeokinir became excited. She went on to say, Dai Niang, you control this cursed spider to return to its lair, we can follow it back and wipe out all the existence behind it. No, miss, this is too dangerous, I can't let you two little guys take such risks. According to my intuition, behind these cursed spiders, I am afraid that at least super level and above curse spirits are manipulating everything. With the strength of you two little guys, even if you can deal with high-level curse spirits, it's dangerous to face super-level curse spirits. Super-grade magic spirit is very dangerous for you. The tentacles on Dai Niang's forehead trembled slightly, Yao Qiner stopped her before she finished speaking. Yao Qiner's plan can be said to be very bold. Although it can be successful, it is in danger of losing its life. In Dai Niang's view, even the two little guys have the strength to fight against high-level curse spirits. However, there is still a long way to go in the case of super-level magic spirits. A super-level spell spirit, it can be said that a high-level spell spirit can be crushed to death with one hand, it is not a level. Especially the top existence among super-level spell spirits, even has the ability to wipe out a city. It is a small mobile nuclear bomb, and every move has the power of destruction. If it is not the same level, or even a magician who surpasses the special level, it is very dangerous to face them. Yao Qiner has only just broken through to the advanced stage of a high-level conjurer, so she can barely force the other party's conjuration spirit to be of the same level. Not to mention Dao Changsheng, he was only an intermediate magician. Even if he really has some means, at most he can fight against high-level spell spirits. In the face of the strange and powerful super-level curse spirit, it is definitely not an opponent. But, Dai Niang, doing this is the fastest way to find the opponent's lair. Yao Qiner was a little unwilling and wanted to continue. Miss, your plan is too risky, I won't cooperate, I can't go too far, I don't feel at ease if you take risks alone. Dai Niang sighed and shook her head slightly. Although, she also appreciates Yao Qiner's bold idea, and even thinks it is feasible. But she couldn't watch the two little guys go to die. This is too dangerous. Dai Niang, I think Qiner's plan is feasible. At this time, Dao Changsheng, who had been silent all this time, indeed narrowed his eyes slightly and spoke with a smile. Yao Qiner looked at Dao Changsheng in surprise. And Dai Niang also showed a little interest, and said, "Oh, do you have other ideas?" Seeing that both of them were looking at him, Dao Changsheng's expression was calm. It's very simple, Qiner immediately go back to contact the school teacher, Dai Niang, you control the cursed spider to go back, and I will follow alone, so it will be safe. You have also seen my ability. Even if you encounter a magic spirit above the special level, it is no problem if you can't win or run. Dao Changsheng revealed a confident smile. Yao Qiner wanted to persuade Dao Changsheng to be dangerous, but seeing his firm eyes, she swallowed her words back. But Dai Niang, after a little silence, nodded her head in agreement. Forget it, if you want to become a strong person, why should you be timid? I can't always protect the eldest lady, you should grow up. Dai Niang sighed slightly, and glanced at Dao Changsheng complicatedly. This young man is even more impressive now. This is my special spell ability, which will allow you to sense each other's existence within 100 miles. Then, with a wave of her prefect, 2 blue runes landed on the arms of Dao Changsheng and Yao Qiner. Go! Dai Niang pinched a few strange seals with both hands, and patted the barrier in front of her lightly. In an instant, the turquoise enchantment cage turned into a green butterfly rune, and got into the body of the cursed spider. The cursed spider let out a painful hiss, and a green light flashed in its eyes. Then, with one flick of its 8 legs, it fled towards the outside of the bamboo forest, and quickly disappeared in front of several people. Chapter 13. Seeing the cursed spider fleeing quickly, Dao Changsheng was not in a hurry to chase after it. He could feel that the fierce spider was not fast. Moreover, he can clearly sense the opponent's position. Little guy, I'll give you something nice. Dai Niang patted the thin blue wings on her back, and instantly appeared in front of Dao Changsheng. She hovered barely above Dao Changsheng, and the distance between the two was very close. In her pair of pure black eyes without pupils, a pair of beautiful reflections of blue butterflies suddenly appeared. Dao Changsheng's heart trembled slightly, and an inexplicable feeling arose. The faces of the two were separated by half a finger distance, and the faint and unique fragrance of each other's body could be smelled. Dai Niang's sudden flash, even his 6 eyes can't see clearly, and he didn't react. This ability, similar to teleportation, is obviously different. On the contrary, it is a bit like flickering. Dai Niang suddenly closes the distance. Dao Changsheng can only pretend to be calm. After all, he didn't feel any malice from Dai Niang. On the contrary, when I looked closely, I realized that Dai Niang is indeed very beautiful, like a beautiful elf. Even, compared to Yao Qiner, she has a little more mature and charming temperament. That perfect figure and proud posture really make people imagine. If he hadn't thought that the other party was also a high-level spell spirit, Dao Changsheng would have had the urge to press the other party on the ground and rub against it. No wonder, there are hybrid descendants of curse spirits and humans appearing in this world. Not to mention others, if there is such a beautiful existence as Dai Niang, who takes the initiative to seduce, I believe that few human beings can resist the temptation. Little guy, your concentration is really good, and you can be completely unmoved by your sister's charm. Dai Niang smiled charmingly, and opened her mouth to tease her. In fact, she was also slightly surprised by Dao Changsheng's performance. After all, she is born with the power of charm, not to mention human males, even aliens will be tempted. But looking at Dao Changsheng's appearance, he didn't seem to lose his composure at all. This, on the contrary, surprised her. After all, boys of this age are still very impulsive. Obviously, Dao Changsheng is an outlier. Dai Niang, for a stunner like you, no man will not be tempted. Dao Changsheng shrugged and smiled calmly. In fact, he was still a little moved. However, after he fused Wu Zhouwu's template, the six-eyed talent could see through falsehood. For charm, illusion, etc., it has extremely strong resistance. Not to mention Dai Niang, an outlier, even if a real fairy stood in front of him to tease him, she wouldn't really do something stupid. It was the butterfly reflection in Dai Niang's pupils that surprised him slightly. Okay, no kidding. Dai Niang smiled and distanced herself. Then, the reflection of a pair of butterflies in the pupils turned into a blue rune. It was branded on the back of Dao Changsheng's hand. In the blink of an eye, a mysterious dancing butterfly pattern appeared on the back of Dao Changsheng's hand. This is my exclusive natal spell butterfly pattern. With the blessing of this ability, you can control that fierce spider for a short period of time, and it can also resist and cast an attack and protection from a super peak spell spirit for you. After Dai Niang finished speaking, she flapped her wings and appeared behind Yao Qiner. She gently approached Yao Qiner's ear with her lips, and whispered softly, "Miss, I'm satisfied now, don't worry, he's gone." Well, Dai Niang, you teased me again, and I didn't say anything. Yao Qiner's pretty face flushed slightly, and she spoke firmly. In fact, the two have been together for so long, and they both understand each other's thoughts. Dai Niang must have guessed that she was worried about Dao Changsheng, so she did this, right? Thinking of this, Yao Qiner couldn't help looking at Dao Changsheng. This oil bottle is now becoming more and more difficult for her to see through. If in the past, it was only out of the friendship of classmates, life and death comrades in arms. So now, in the depths of Yao Qiner's immature and ignorant heart, there is already a trace of affection that she didn't even notice. Maybe, it was the change of Dao Changsheng, the night of protecting her, which made her feel a great touch, right? Thank you, Dai Niang. Dao Changsheng nodded gratefully to Dai Niang. Although, his means are not weak now. The protection ability is very strong. However, the means of attack are still close. The things Dai Niang gave are very useful. Qiner, go and say hello to Huachang first. Recently, other teams in the academy have missions to perform. You can try to let him do it yourself, hehe. Dao Changsheng showed a smile that you understand. Let Huachang do it himself. Yao Qiner's eyes lit up, and then she smiled and said, okay, he usually trains us so strictly, it's time for this wife to be more strict. Then, after the two exchanged a few words, Dao Changsheng left the bamboo forest. Miss, what do you think of Dao Changsheng? Seeing Dao Changsheng leave, Dai Niang suddenly asked meaningfully. Brother Changsheng is very good. Although I was the one who protected him many times before, he is also very brave. Especially last night, he was so handsome that he suddenly hit that damned curse spirit. Wait, Dai Niang, are you talking to me? Yao Qiner was talking excitedly, but suddenly she looked at Dai Niang with a ghostly look, and said angrily. Haha, miss, you are sure about something. As Dai Niang said, her body flickered and disappeared. Only Yao Qiner, who was in a complicated mood, was left blankly watching the direction where Dao Changsheng disappeared. Out of the place where Yaokanir's villa is located. Dao Changsheng sensed the location of the fierce spider and quickly chased after it. The speed of the fierce spider is not very fast, but it is definitely faster than the running speed of ordinary people. At this time, the fierce spider had already entered an alley in a certain street. Where it escaped, it chose areas with relatively few people. After all, in a city where the human race lives, it is still very dangerous to act blatantly. Especially Modu, which is one of the largest cities in the Dragon Kingdom, with a huge area and population. There are countless strong people in such a huge city. In every area of the city, there are powerful magicians guarding them. Even if the curse spirits are rampant, they dare not act recklessly in the daytime or in crowded places. After half an hour. Help, help, I don't want to die, woo woo woo. Teacher, Mom, I'm so scared. No, damn it, it's a curse, it must be those evil spirits that eat people. After entering the alley. In a certain courtyard, there was suddenly a burst of mournful crying, shouting, and a frightened cry for help. You can tell by the sound that it was not made by one person. And the fierce spider that Dao Changsheng was following happened to get into the house and disappeared. Could it be that this is the lair of the fierce spider? Hey, why do you feel that there is a voice that is very familiar? Dao Changsheng's face suddenly changed slightly, he speeded up, and approached the inside of the house. At this time, he didn't dare to expose himself directly. Under the blessing of unlimited power, Dao Changsheng concealed his good breath, and his whole body was suspended. Chapter 14. Dao Changsheng was suspended in mid-air. Stop at a 10-story building not far away. Looking down from this position, you can see it all. This area is one of the old towns in Chongning district, and there are few pedestrians around the streets. Most of the people living here are old people. Many buildings are abandoned and waiting to be rebuilt. In a house below with a large yard, a thrilling scene is being staged. Inside the house, there were 5 or 6 teenagers lying on the ground without making a sound. In the yard, there were 8 or 9 cursed spiders lying on their stomachs. These fierce spiders have 5 heads and are about the size of the spiders caught by Dai Niang. The other 3 are bigger in size, like a calf, giving people a feeling of oppression. Out of these fierce spiders, there is also a strange figure. She has a coquettish young woman's face, with purple hair covering her shoulders. The upper body is in the shape of a woman, while the lower body is the body of a spider the size of a millstone. Obviously, this is an advanced curse spirit. 5 low-level cursed spiders and 3 intermediate-level spiders. In addition, a high-ranking purple-haired female fierce spider. This lineup can be called strong. Such a lineup is no longer something ordinary conjurers can deal with. Unexpectedly, there are so many evils in this abandoned old house. The strongest curse spider, it should not have broken through to the special level, it feels similar to that 3-fingered curse spirit. Under the observation of Dao Changsheng's 6 eyes, a conclusion was quickly reached. His 6 eyes can clearly sense the concentration of mana in the opponent's body. Of course, such observations are not accurate and there will be some errors. If the other party intends to hide the breath and spell power, even if the realm is much higher than him, it is difficult to judge the specific realm strength. However, ordinary high-level spell spirits cannot escape his eyes now. The 9-headed cursed spider, I should be able to handle it. Dao Changsheng licked his lips, and there was a gleam of excitement in his eyes. Like a hunter in the dark, waiting for the fatal blow to the prey. However, he was not in a hurry to start. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked at a corner of the house. Lu Hu, Chen Dongdong, and class monitor Lu Shishi. Seeing these three people, Dao Changshen's eyes showed a complex look, and he couldn't help but think of some pictures from the past. At this time, the fierce spider controlled by Dai Niang also joined in. The female fierce spider curse spirit just glanced at it and didn't care. Obviously, this high-level fierce spider didn't notice anything unusual about the little friend. At this time, the purple-haired fierce spider was looking at the corner of the front wall. There were 3 teenagers, 2 boys and 1 girl, all about 17 or 18 years old. They all trembled in awe, like desperate mice, huddled together. Seeing the 10 terrifying spiders getting closer and closer, everyone turned pale with fright. The ferocious and sharp mouth parts and fangs, dripping with saliva, are like terrifying hungry beasts, making people shudder. Even, one of the chubby teenagers was so frightened that he peed his pants. "No, don't eat me, my meat is very greasy and not tasty at all." The fat boy was so frightened that his fat body trembled, and he cried out in despair. Another tall and thin boy, Chen Dongdong, was also pale, but trembling all over, too frightened to speak. "Don't eat us, please, I don't want to be eaten." Lu Shishi begged with pear blossoms and rain all over her face. She curled up like a helpless and desperate little white rabbit. The white lace stockings were scratched, and there was a little blood on them. Obviously, these long legs have been scratched. The pain, on the contrary, made her more sober. Facing these ferocious and terrifying monsters, they were already desperate. How had they ever seen such a ferocious and terrifying evil creature? The 3 of them are just ordinary people. Facing these terrifying existences, they instinctively feel extremely terrified. "I didn't expect to meet you, let alone get to know each other once, you're lucky." Dao Changsheng stood on the roof, whispering softly. In fact, he knew all 3 of them very well. Half a year ago, he was still studying in ordinary high school. If it weren't for half a year ago, his adoptive mother gave him the back door to enter the current magic school. He should still grow up with these people. Now, they should all have passed their respective universities, right? It's just that he has already left the category of ordinary people, and the lives of these ordinary people are gradually drifting away from him. These 3 people, including 5 other teenagers lying down. In the past, they were all students at the same school as him in high school. And Lu Shishi and Chen Dongdong are in the same class as him. As for the fat man, he is a student of the same grade in the class next door. He is madly in love with the monitor of their class, who is also the school girl Lu Shishi. Unfortunately, it was rejected every time. Once, knowing that Lu Shishi had a crush on her and often walked together, I also handed over a few classmates and wanted to do something to him. It's just that Dao Changsheng wasn't a magician at the time. But under the special training of his adoptive mother, his physique is far beyond ordinary people. With just a few moves, the noses and faces of these stunned men were swollen. Looking back on the past, although it has only been half a year, I feel that things have changed. Dao Changsheng couldn't help feeling slightly moved when he saw the classmates he was familiar with in the past. But, why did these people appear here? Judging from the time, it's only October, so it should be a holiday. These people, maybe they were picked up by these fierce spiders during the party? Humans, you are all delicious food. Your meat is more delicious, I like more meat. The purple-haired fierce spider was condescending, looking at the fat Lu Hu who was trembling and crying. Saliva flowed from the corner of her mouth, which completely destroyed the image of the beautiful young woman's face, making her look a bit hideous. The ferocious aura rushed towards his face, so frightened that Lu Hu almost fainted. Such a ferocious and terrifying existence has a halazi on top of his head. It's kind of funny, but it's really scary. Paralyze them, bring back the blood sacrifice, the hearts and brains of these three, I will swallow them myself. Hurry up, before dark, you have to catch 30 blood eaters. The purple-haired fierce spider withdrew its greedy gaze. Although she was a little bit reluctant, she did not dare to disobey the orders of her superiors. If you steal food without permission, you will die miserably. The surrounding fierce spiders were ordered, and 3 of them opened their mouths and bit the 3 of them. Oh, no, Mom, I don't want to die. This time, the fatty Lu Hu, who was almost fainted from fright, jumped up in shock and rushed towards the gate of the nearby house. He wanted to escape, not to die. The other 2, Lu Shishi and Chen Dongdong, looked at each other the same way. At the same time, understand the other party's thinking. He quickly mustered up his courage and wanted to go all out and escape. However, just as they got up, a few spider threads wrapped around their ankles. They struggled desperately, but they couldn't resist at all. Even, being hung up on a stone on the ground, his body was covered in bruises and blood. Am I really going to die? Eat by these disgusting bugs. In Lu Shishi's heart, despair and sorrow rose. Just when she was so desperate and sobbing in grief, an indifferent voice suddenly rang in her ears. Don't worry, you won't die with me here. With the sound of the sound, a figure descended from the sky. Chapter 15. Just when Lu Shishi was in despair, a familiar and indifferent voice suddenly came to mind. Lu Shishi was slightly taken aback. At this moment, she even forgot to cry. Instead, he raised his head and looked at the figure standing in the air in front of him. Dao Changsheng, elder brother Changsheng, why are you here? With an incredulous expression on her face, Lu Shishi said in a daze. She really didn't expect that Dao Changsheng would appear here out of nowhere. This is so strange. In her memory, Dao Changsheng disappeared before the college entrance examination. Also lost contact with everyone. Including her, there is no news of Dao Changsheng. Only one day, she suddenly received a text message from Dao Changsheng. Said that he did not enter the university and had already left Shanghai, so let her not read it. This short piece of information, like a needle PK, made Lu Shishi very uncomfortable. After all, speaking of Dao Changsheng was her first thought. When the two were in high school, there were many intimate and warm memories. Suddenly Dao Changsheng disappeared in her world, which made Lu Shishi sad for a long time. Even, during that time, she frantically searched for Dao Changsheng. I also contacted friends who knew Dao Changsheng, but found nothing. More than half a year has passed, but she still hasn't gotten over the thought of being separated from Dao Changsheng. But unexpectedly, at her most dangerous moment, Dao Changsheng appeared. Looking at the young man standing in the air, his temperament and image have changed a lot. The girl who was originally stunned, her shoulders shrugged slightly, but the tears fell down uncontrollably. She misses this man so much. The girl's obsession made her brave. He even forgot the danger around him, and rushed towards Dao Changsheng crying. As soon as she hugged Dao Changsheng's waist tightly, Luo sobbed like rain. Brother Changsheng, I knew you would come to save me, you don't want Shishi to be sad, right? Lu Shishi cried like a child. She didn't even know why she cared so much about the man who had left her behind. But when she saw Dao Changsheng, she was pleasantly surprised and afraid of losing, so she could only rush to catch him. Hey, silly girl, we haven't seen each other for half a year, so you don't need to be so enthusiastic. Dao Changsheng lowered his head slightly in surprise, looking at the beautiful girl in his arms. It still looks familiar, with a touch of maturity. If he had to compare, he felt that the two pairs on his chest were more proud. It seems that the women's university has become more and more attractive. However, this woman is just an ordinary person. Even if they are pretty, the two of them will only drift away, and they won't have much communication anymore. Because of this, he left Lu Shishi. After all, long-term pain is worse than short-term pain. Dao Changsheng didn't take this kind of youthful feelings lightly. He knew what he really needed. Ever since his parents were devoured and killed by a curse spirit, he has only one obsession, which is to become stronger. Any obstacles that hinder her from becoming stronger should be removed. Powerful conjurers have a much longer lifespan than ordinary people. In addition, I often experience hardships that ordinary people can't imagine, and I don't have time to be with ordinary people at all. Dao Changsheng chose to separate for the good of Lu Shishi. Okay, baby, with me here, it's okay, no one can hurt you. Dao Changsheng smiled and rubbed Lu Shishi's head. Lu Shishi's pear blossoms are raining, and her pitiful appearance is really pitiful. Really, brother Changsheng, promise not to leave Shishi this time, okay? Lu Shishi said stubbornly. At this moment, she even forgot about the danger. Dao Changsheng. Hey, I read that right, it's the Dao Changsheng who beat me into a pig's head. This little devil, why is he here? Fatty Lu Hu came to his senses, looking at Dao Changsheng who was hugged tightly by Lu Shishi, his face was full of shock and disbelief. Shabai, Changsheng must have come to rescue Senior Colonel Hualio Shishi, we must be saved. Chen Dongdong also had a look of shock on his face, and then he glanced at the fat man with contempt. Really? Damn it, this little devil can fly? He won't become a fairy. Damn, it's really saved, fat tiger, don't have to die. Lu Hu muttered nervously and stupidly. Just being urinated by the cook, the whole person was already a little nervous. Seeing Dao Changsheng suddenly fall from the sky, he even forgot his fear for a moment, and just kept giggling. Come on, if you wanted to bully Changsheng before, you definitely wouldn't save you. Chen Dongdong strikes. Hearing Chen Dongdong's words, Lu Hu's face turned pale immediately, and he begged to look at Chen Dongdong. You used to be at the same table with him, please beg me, how about I ask my father to give you 100,000 when I go back? No, 1 million. Lu Hushan was afraid that Chen Dongdong would not agree, so he raised it directly to 1 million. As long as he can save his life, he doesn't care so much anymore. Changsheng, you should have become a powerful conjurer, right? I don't know if he can deal with so many monsters, it's great to see you. Chen Dongdong next to him ignored Fat Tiger's temptation at all, but looked at Dao Changsheng nervously. Hiss! 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 At this time, the cursed spiders around them roared ferociously, and surrounded Dao Changsheng, the uninvited guest. They kept their mouths full of haws, like vicious dogs, trying to tear off a piece of flesh from Dao Changsheng's body. Suddenly being invaded into the territory, and still ignoring them like this. Really pd them off. Human boy, you should die. This is a blood meal dedicated to the gods. If you dare to obstruct our great action, you will also be sacrificed. Such a young conjurer, your blood is more pure, our god, will be more happy. Hiss! The purple-haired fierce spider stared at Dao Changsheng closely with its red eyes, and from the initial shock and anger, it turned into excitement. Her 8 legs were trembling on the spot, as if she was so excited that she had an OM, which made people feel weird and chilly. Go, go all, let him feel our terror. The purple-haired fierce spider showed its menacing face. She took the lead and rushed towards Dao Changsheng. Her speed was very fast, and her 2 forelimbs turned into 2 fierce purple spears. It pierced Dao Changsheng's back hard. As long as you catch this young conjurer, you will definitely be rewarded by the Green Lord. She is desperate. The other 8 fierce spiders around them also roared and surrounded Dao Changsheng. Even, half of them spit out spider silk, trying to restrain Dao Changsheng's movements. Hey, close your eyes, don't peek when men are fighting. Faced with so many terrorist sieges, Dao Changsheng didn't panic at all, but pressed Lu Shishi's head on his chest. He didn't want Lu Shishi to see the bloody swipe that followed, leaving any psychological shadow. Chapter 16. Men fight, women don't peek. When Lu Shishi heard this sentence, she was also slightly taken aback. However, she still blushed slightly and hugged Dao Changsheng tightly. It seems that this boy's chest has become wider. The feel has also become firmer and more powerful. It's completely different from the feeling of hugging him before. Is this a powerful conjurer? For ordinary people, they have only heard about the power of conjurers. That is the existence that makes them look up to. However, the number of conjurers is very rare. Some people may never see a real magician in their entire life. Moreover, conjurers are very good at disguising. If they don't want to, ordinary people can't find the existence of conjurers at all. Therefore, for ordinary people, conjurers are powerful, mysterious, and untouchable existences. However, Lu Shishi never thought of it. Not only did I witness these monster-like curse spirits with my own eyes, but I also hugged a magician? This was a picture she could never have imagined before. This scene will definitely make her unforgettable forever, right? Too slow. At this time, Dao Changsheng smiled indifferently in the face of those fierce